This concept of continuously thinking and moving forward, and I do think that's why he is who he is. He doesn't get stuck in the past and think about, oh, I should have done that. It's a really positive outlook on life. It's also inspirational, just his whole attitude towards life and how he thinks about things. My name is Maureen Flaherty. We're here at the Gerald Luss House in Ossining, New York. The house was finished in 1955, and the architect is Gerald Luss. Gerald Luss, who's still alive, still with us, most notably was important in the design of the interiors of the Time Life building. All the interiors that you see, if you've ever watched Mad Men, that's all of Gerald's designs, and that's what he's most famous for. But I would say his business was about designing for businesses, and that was his biggest client at the time in 1959, I think that was. This was his first residential piece that he did, and it was for himself, for his then wife and 2 young kids, 2 daughters. They only lived here for 2 years. He really poured his heart into this home, as you can imagine. But his wife, apparently, at the time, she felt a bit lonely. Her family was in Long Island. And don't forget, this was 1955, so it's not like there were a ton of houses yet built in the area. And she just felt like she wanted to be closer to her family. So Gerald honored that as much as he has told us that was a really difficult decision for him. That was, he wanted to be sure that his wife was happy. So they only lived here for 2 years. Gerald talks about it today. As he thought about the design, he really thinks about design still to this day, inside out. In the home, I think the special details are like all those inner pieces that make up the house, the hinges, the hidden little doorknobs. There's all kinds of beautifully designed things that you have to open up a cabinet to see. To me, that's what makes it so special. He puts so much time and effort and thought into all of those details. Unexpected things that I don't think your average, especially today, your average architect thinks about. All those very special details that make it just this unbelievable, incredible. And to think that he did that at such a young age is so meaningful. At the time, we couldn't really afford it. We were young, we were only 35. We didn't know much about buying homes. And we would say to each other, are you still thinking about that house on Overlook Road? Luckily a year later, it was still for sale. So we came back, it was still available. 24 years we've been here. Gerald was the first owner, obviously. A family by the name of the Robins lived here, and they lived here for a long time. They were here, let's just say, in 1957, and then we bought it in 2000. They were here a long time as well, and thankfully they kept a lot of the original details. We wanted to do the best we can to preserve it. We also understood the beauty of the design. We tried our best to keep it as original as possible, and we also wanted to sit with it to make sure we didn't do anything drastic. Thankfully, we didn't. We had been here, I don't know, 15 years maybe or so. And we had a party one weekend, a Christmas party. We had it catered from a local catering place, and Mark, who's now our good friend, who we met, because he was catering the party, he said, do you mind if I bring my husband to see the house? He's an architect. And we were like, oh yeah, of course, that would be great. And then he said to us, do you know who the architect is? And we said his name is Gerald Luss. Now, we didn't know if Gerald was still alive. We didn't know a ton about him. We had found a few books on him through eBay and magazines where they had published his work, but we didn't know what he was up to, if he was still alive. We really didn't know much. And then so then Mark said to us, oh my gosh, he's my friend, would you like to meet him? Which was incredible. So we're like, oh my God. So 2 weeks later, we had Gerald over for lunch. He walked through the front door and through that front glass door, and he just filled up because he hadn't been here in 65 years. Yeah, because it was such an emotional, I think, thing for him to leave the house behind, and since he had built it for his family, he never, I don't know, I don't think, for some reason he'd never really want to come back or visit it. And so when he came back, it was really special. It was as if we had known him our whole life. We all connected and are still such good friends today. Yeah, yeah. Well, the built-ins, of course, yep, and all designed by Gerald. And then this couch is an original Gerald Luss design, as is the coffee table. A great story about these pieces are he designed and built them here in the house for this house, and then, as I mentioned earlier, he was at the time working for the Time Life building for that project, and he would have the architects at the time. He tells the story, come up to the house, understand his sense of architecture by being here, and they would work in the basement, and there used to be a ping pong table down there, and they would lie the plans out on the table and discuss everything. But having everyone come up here, eventually this couch and this coffee table ended up as part of the designs that they use, like for the Time Life building as well. So it kind of started here. We had a storm where a tree came right through the roof, all the glass was blown out. There were just shards of glass and everything, the couches, the chairs, so we had to have all that redone. And the floor was, we couldn't save the floor, it was just damaged. There was water pouring in. So that's when we decided to renovate the floor. And then at that time too, we also did the kitchen floor because that had some damage to it. So that storm kind of caused us to make the changes because we were kind of reluctant. We were trying so hard to keep it as original as possible. But thankfully, Gerald was involved in a lot of our design decisions. There's not a ton of, I would say, mid-century homes in this area, but there is Usoni, of course, and that's an example of where they are really preserving the homes as they should be. But it's important. I mean, I think about, gosh, we've been here for already 24 years. That's crazy. So already it's 24 years older. But to me, it's as if it was built yesterday. The design is still so important. And you feel that when you're here. It's a sense of, wow, this is a special place, because I feel like you can sense that energy of someone pouring their love and their thought into it. It's important to preserve these incredible pieces of architecture for that reason, to preserve a feeling of love, a feeling of energy, a feeling of specialty that you don't get when you go in lots of times, not always, but often when you go into new builds, you know. It's not just the house, the physical house, it's the energy that comes with it, it's all of that. Raising my kids here, I think, was just such an incredible experience for us all. For them, it had such an impact on who they became as adults and how they appreciate art, architecture. They notice things that others might not, just based on their experience of growing up and just the whole sense of being one with nature. That was an important part of their childhood. And then just being in this house that was designed by such a thoughtful and incredible architect, I think has impacted them in ways that they're still discovering as adults. And they appreciate design, art, and they appreciate things that are well built, and the love, and like we said, the love that goes into that. Gerald has become a really important part of our lives, all of us, the kids included. He's still a working architect at 98, I think he is now, and he still is an artist, making clocks, living in the Dakota, has a studio. So he's become an important part of our lives because he's so inspirational. And we even just saw him a couple nights ago, and it's a reminder to me and to my daughter and to my husband and my sons, like, to keep moving and to keep creating and to stay active, and to, not just physically, but in your mind. I mean, he's just so inspirational. He's constantly thinking about every little detail, just his thought process and how he approaches design. Being in the house is super emotional, and as I've gotten older, it's just filled with love and memories. And the way Gerald designed it, there's such a sense of peace in here. Like, as soon as I come home, I'm like, oh, it's so peaceful. And we spend a lot of time here together as a family. It definitely has a beautiful sense of love and peace and home and fun. Being in here, and I agree, through the seasons, it's beautiful. In the spring, when everything turns green, and then in the fall, you get all the golden colors. And then in the winter, when it's white, even on a rainy day, it's so beautiful. So he always refers to this room as like a moving picture of how things are changing through the season, and to be in here and you feel like you're almost up in the trees, and to really experience that is really incredible. My hope for the future of the home is that my kids can continue to enjoy it, passing it down to them, their families, that they continue to open it up, continue this feeling of love, having family and friends here, opening up to other creative people so that Gerald's legacy really continues to live on.